Hello. How are you?
It's like we haven't seen each other in so long.
It's been like all week.
No, we saw each other Friday morning.
It was
didn't
Friday,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, but you were asleep. I know you were sleeping behind me. Right?
So yes, Sunday show, which is probably what we're gonna be doing from here on out, for True Serial. Just it's a little easier for me for the week. There is a possibility I may be getting a new position at the place I'm working at, and if that's the case, I'll have weekends off, but I'll be working late nights throughout the week. So we're moving it to Sundays.
But the important thing is we'll still be doing it. We'll still be doing it.
But it may be some may be late, like 7 o'clock now. Some may be early, like 1 or 2. Just depends on the day. But we'll definitely be doing shows on Sundays here on True Serial, along with Monday nights over at Claire, unless I get that job, and then we'll have to figure out a different time.
Then we'll figure something out. Yeah. For now, it's either 7 or 10 on Monday, so we'll figure something out.
We'll talk.
But we're not going to break up yet. Not until the next debate.
It's good to see everybody. Krabby, Shay, Miss Cassandra, Raven, Pops in the chat. Now this one is for my dad. He's been asking for it for a long time, since I started. So we're going to be covering Pedro Alfonso Lopez, the monster of the Andes.
The monster of the Andes, and he was very apropos name.
I do want to let everybody know that Monday's show with Claire will be a normal show. We're still not exactly sure what we're covering yet on Monday's show, but next Sunday starts our series on Jean-Benet Ramsey.
Right, the whole month.
It'll be for the rest of the month between the two shows. So that'll start this Sunday, Jean-Benet. So yeah. How you been, Claire?
I'm good. I had an almost weekend off. It was kind of nice. I had half a Friday off and Saturday off, so it's really kind of cool. So I don't normally have that much time off of YouTube on the weekend, so it was good. Thunderstorms here, though. Windstorms, thunderstorms.
Oh yeah, you're getting hit by them storms over on the East Coast. There.
They're still going on today. So if I dip, it's nothing personal.
You may have lost power.
I may have lost power or got a hot date or a cup of coffee. I don't know. No.
You got a show tonight?
I do at 9 o'clock. I get to do this is my vanity project. I love Black Mirror. I'm a Charlie Brooker fanatic. I mean, besides Dexter, he's like my number uno, my and I get to do that with Always Grateful, Kimby, and we're both big fans. And tonight at 9, we're doing Be Right Back. So it's going to be cool. It should be fun. Yeah.
So let's get into Pedro, Mr. Lopez. So most of the information we know about Pedro Lopez comes from himself. He did an interview in 1980 after he was after he was caught. He's only done one interview, and most of the information we know about Pedro is from this interview. I'm gonna read a little bit from the interview, and then we're gonna talk for some other stuff.
Yeah,
so
it's an intense interview. It's pretty.
It is, and like I said, I won't go through too much of the interview. But I wanted to read you guys the beginning of this interview. So,
this one was done in 2009.
This was edited out entered international in 2009, but it was actually done in 1980.
1980. So you redid it. Okay.
So this was after Pedro was caught. He was held in the center in Ecuador. Ecuador. In an otherwise abandoned section of Ambato prison in the top of a mountain far from other prisoners for their safety and his. There was an unofficial reward believed raised by his family of victims of $25,000 US for any guard or prisoner who killed him. So he says, I was searched for weapons as I went through 3 levels of security. It Taking off my shoes, I tiptoed around the corner and peeked over the edge of a small barred window into his cell. The monster of the Andes, as he was known, was on the floor, sitting against the wall, huge hands flexing. On the wall behind him were faded clippings of his mass murder trial. I sat on the other side of the corridor, turning on my flash and pre-focused my camera on the barred window. Somewhere down the corridor behind me, a guard made a hissing sound. The guards liked to torment the serial killer who feared they would kill him. The monster stirred. He growled and ran to the window, grabbing the bars and snarling. That's when I captured the picture showing his rage in powerful killer hands. If you've seen the picture, it's the picture of him in the bar cell.
That's on the thumbnail, right?
That's on the thumbnail? A different. I was gonna use that one, but I opted out. I went with this other one that's on the thumbnail. But see if we can pull that one up just so I can show everybody.
I mean, he's a scary looking guy. Like he just, I don't like that look. You have it? Mm.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up here in just a second. So, let's show you
you have this beautiful sea of blue in your chat. It's very calming.
Not invite, share. Share screen.
I feel so safe in this chat. It's nothing but it's like so blue. Oh, that one. Oh,
this is the picture.
Now he's rough looking. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's the picture we're talking about.
Wow. Yeah.
So the next day he returned with the warden. This is the author says the next day I returned with the warden while guards with cocked pistols watched through the little window from the upper entrance to a cell in which he had been kept for 12 years in solitary confinement. I stepped into the cell. From outside the bars, the prison director, Victor Lascano, introduced me, and I foolishly, innocently held out my hand for the monster to shake. He was surprised, probably because no one ever touched him since he was locked away in 1980 following a 3-year killing rampage. He stared into my eyes and then gripped my hand and began squeezing. His enormous hand, which had exerted so much pressure on young girls' necks that many had their eyes popped out by the pressure, now turned his power on me. My hand went numb. If I had been wearing a ring on my finger, it would have broken. Instead, the ends of my fingers began to swell like tiny red balloons, gorged with blood. I was about to scream out when the monster suddenly stopped and smiled. Then he decided to grant me the one and only interview he ever made. He now invited the director of the prison in with me, but only if the director's pretty daughter, who was acting as an interpreter, came in also. There is a picture of this I want to show too.
That's not cool, though.
Yeah.
That's like creepy dude.
Because there is actually a picture of him with her. Let's see if I can find that picture. I thought I grabbed it, but apparently I didn't. Oh, there it is. There we go. So we'll share this picture. So there's him and the director's daughter.
And the daughter. Oh my. Yeah. Just don't let him touch you. Yeah, I don't think I'd let my daughter go there either. Yeah. That's wow. Yeah.
Now here's the interesting part. So he told the warden that he had not touched a woman in a dozen years, and he would go forward with the interview, but only if he could touch the hands of the warden's daughter. Everyone gasped. With 3 now in the cell with the monster, guards aimed pistols through the bars as if there was a shooting. I hoped I wouldn't be shot. Then the brave girl held out her hands, and the monster of the Andes very carefully touched the ends of her fingers to her wrist. Would he grab her by the throat and kill her? The moment passed. He released her and began talking. Later, he told us that at about 26, she was too old to attract him.
That's, because unfortunately he liked them much younger. 26.
So locked in his cell, Watched by nervous guards holding cocked pistols, the mass murderer told me, "I am the man of the century. No one will ever forget me."
I guess not.
Yeah. So
300 odd, like 350, is it?
300, over 300. They
Wow.
believe the last one, it depends on which article you look at. Some say 300, some say 350, some say 240.
Yeah, this guy in this article, he's saying 350.
Mm-hmm. So
Three different countries.
Yeah, let's get into this. So Pedro Alonso Lopez is a prolific Colombian pedophiliac and serial killer, serial rapist, stalker, and abductor. To believe had murdered over 300 girls in Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. He is considered by many one of the world's most prolific serial killers and rapists. To this day, he is presumed to be at large, and we'll get into that later, because yeah. So now, like I said, most of this information we get from Pedro himself from that interview. So a lot of this is hard to corroborate. So Pedro's mother, Belinda Lopez de Castaneda, was a prostitute. His father, Ricardo Reyes, who was married to another woman at the time, was having an affair with Castaneda. Lopez was the seventh of 13 children. Reyes, his father, was shot and killed 6 months before Lopez was born when a rebellious mob attacked the grocery store he was in. The attack occurred at the beginning of what was known as the Civil War in Colombia, also known as La Valencia. Lopez's mother claimed to be loving and caring, but Pedro said that she was cruel and abusive as she raised him. He also claimed at a young age he would watch his mother have sex with clients and that she would let them hit him. She would let them hit her on occasion. Now, at the time, remember, there's 13 kids. The 13 kids would sleep in a large bed behind a curtain while she did her business in the living room. So yeah, it was not a very, we're talking Colombia in the early 60s, and not a nice place. So when he was 8 years old, his mother caught Pedro molesting his younger sister, resulting on him being kicked out of the house.
Right.
Conflicting stories, because where it's still molestation, a lot of articles I read will talk about lower body part molestation, and it wasn't. It was actually he was touching her breast, from his words. Like I said, but we can only assume so much because of it's coming from him himself. But the way I tend to believe what he puts out there, because he was very straightforward during this interview. I mean, he even, as we'll see later, he even took them to find 53 of his bodies. So there's really no reason for him to lie here at this point. But aside from that, it resulted in him being kicked out of the house. He returned the next day, and this time his mother drove him 200 miles into Ecuador and dropped him off. So from there, he was found by an adult male who lured him into a house with promise of a hot meal in bed, but instead took his time repeatedly sodomizing him at this time. After this point, Lopez joined a gang of street children for protection. The gang would often fight others with knives, belts, and for food or plates to sleep in. They'd also use smoke bazooka, Bazuco, a type of drug derived from cocaine. After spending 4 years living on the streets, now there was a little bit I want to jump into here real quick, because during this time he was a carjacker. He was really good at stealing cars. And that's going to come up here in just a little bit, but that was during this time. Now, after spending 4 years on the streets, he was taken in by an American family and became a student in a school of orphanage. But as he put it, he ran away after a male teacher molested him during this time. So as a young adult, he began to steal cars and sell them to local chop shops, like I said, in exchange for sums of money. Right. He was arrested. Go ahead.
No.
I thought you wanted to say something. Yeah, if you want to say something, just let me know. Because
no, I'm just waiting for a section. Because man, this guy is like,
Yeah,
This guy is
we got
something.
a spot coming here in just a second. I want to talk about some stuff. So he was arrested. He was arrested in '69 for the auto theft and sentenced to 7 years in prison in Bogota. Now he was back in Colombia at this time. Now I want to stop here because what we're going to get into from here is where we start realizing the like we've talked in the past about traumatic sexual experiences that would lead a lot of serial killers down the path they're at, and what's about to happen here is a probably one of the biggest ones that started him down his path of where he went. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want to say before we get into this? Because I think you know where we're going here.
Yeah, I know where we're going. Like this always gets me. Like it's very hard for me, even though I know that they are also a victim. When a victim turns into an abuser, it's quite traumatic, especially how many victims we're talking about here. It's just it's a lot to digest, Jay.
Yeah, it is.
On a Sunday.
On a Sunday. Happy Sunday.
happy Sunday, Claire.
So 2 days into his sentence, he was brutally gang raped by 3 other inmates at the event that deeply traumatized him. Following this, he made a shiv for himself out of plastic utensils and hunted down his rapists, killing each one of them. Some versions claim he was also raped by a 4th inmate who escaped his wrath, and that he also strangled the ringleader with his bare hands. Neither one's substantiated, and I don't remember if he actually really talked much on that in the interview itself. He didn't really go into too much there. But anyways, he killed 3 of them over a 2-week period. He ended up slitting their throats. The killings gained him the grudging respect of the other inmates who had never dared disturb him again, and were considered acts of self-defense by the local Colombian Justice Department. Because of this, he was only added 2 years onto his previous sentence.
Okay.
Now, this is the first part, because the prison sentencing is going to come up here and when he gets caught. That is when those of us who live in the United States hear of something like this. Now, if this was the U.S. and he'd have killed those 3 guys in the U.S., he'd have been in prison for the rest of his life. He'd have never got out. But in Colombia justice, he only got 2 years, and the United States wouldn't have considered it an act of self-defense because he did it after the fact, not during the fact.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's where the world, it's weird because we look at some of these international serial killers, and as we go on time, we'll look at other cases where the international, well, according to the United States, the other nations have really different law, not law, sentencing guidelines for things that those in the United States kind of feel that we're really lax. But in other societies, it's considered normal. So following his release in 1978, he became, now this is where it starts to, we get into why he was known as the monster here. Following his release in 1978, Lopez became a drifter and began abducting, raping, and murdering an average of 3 young girls a week.
That's an incredible number.
Now, he said something in, where they see if I can find it, where it says that in the interview. I can't find it. Right, exactly. Which one? He was where he's talking about why he decided to go into this killing spree, and it was after he killed the 3 guys in prison. It's something to the fact that he liked the feeling of it and wanted to expand more, which happens with a lot of serial killers. After their first kill, they want that rush. They want to gain that. They want that rush again. And in his case, that's where he he wanted that rush. He says he moved on to little girls because it was easier. Um, One, it was easier, and he enjoyed the innocence of them. Is
Mm-hmm.
why he chose younger girls.
Yeah.
Um, so, on one occasion in Peru, Lopez attempted to abduct a 9-year-old child from an Indian tribe, but was caught in the act. As a result, he was beaten, tortured, buried up to his neck in sand, and the natives planned to pour syrup on his head and let him be eaten alive by ants. However, he was saved by an American missionary who intervened and convinced them to let her deliver him to the police. They
Mm-hmm.
reluctantly agreed, and unaware that the missionary instead drove him to the Colombian border, where she set him free afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
After the
I
fact, go ahead.
I found a section for you.
Did you find it?
Mm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. It's in a couple of different statements here. The first one, he said, Lopez said he knew from the age of 8 that he was going to be a killer. I was the seventh son of 13 children of a prostitute in Tolima, Colombia. All the children slept on a big bed behind a drawn curtain while our mother did her business with men. My mother threw me out when I was 8 after she caught me touching my sister's breast. She took me to the edge of town, but I found my way home again. He tried to explain his killings, comparing
Yeah.
himself to spectators who attend bullfights to watch the moment of truth when the fighting bull or matador faces death. Said the monster of the Andes, there is a wonderful moment, a divine moment, when I have my hands around a young girl's throat. I look into her eyes and I see a certain light, a spark, suddenly go out. Only those who kill know what I mean. The moment of death is enthralling and exciting. Someday, when I am released, I will feel that moment again. I will be happy to kill again. It is my mission.
Yeah. So.
It is my mission?
Yep.
Hi, Jay. You did me in again.
So, after he was released at the Colombian border, he began traveling through the countries of Colombia, Ecuador, abducting and murdering more girls along the way. Police initially believed that slavery and prostitution rings were abducting the missing children. Following a flash flood near Ambato, Ecuador in 1979, the bodies of 4 of the missing children were uncovered and found. Days later, Lopez attempted to abduct a 12-year-old from a marketplace, also in Ambato, but failed when her mother caught him in the act, and with the help of other women. He was almost lynched right there on the spot, but the towns,
if only he was.
the townsfolk held him down till the police showed up.
Mm.
He was arrested while proclaiming that he was a good person and that he had a clean heart.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
While in detention, Pedro was subjected to a standard interrogation until he told the policeman that he was not Ecuadorian but a Colombian drifter. A police lieutenant then beat him and accused him of being part of a gang abducting girls from Ambato. The officer threatened to kill him if he didn't confess, but he remained silent. In that moment, the officer's superior, Captain Pastor Cordova, entered the room and told other policemen to leave, deciding to interrogate him himself with a more friendly approach. He offered Lopez food and cigarettes and asked him about his health and feelings before requesting information about the gang of abductors. Lopez shrugged and said that he knew nothing about it. When the captain told him that he was under great pressure from the families of the missing girls to find whoever abducted him, Pedro told him that he could find one victim in a cabin outside of town. The police went to the cabin and found a new dead body lying in an old mattress who was identified. We're not going to go with the name. Identified as a missing girl. After Cordova asked Lopez about how many girls he killed, he looked upwards and said, over 200 in Ecuador, some 10s in Peru, and many more in Colombia. The president himself of Colombia was informed and ordered that Lopez should be taken to the places where he had left the bodies until all the victims in Ecuador were recovered. Lopez led them to more than 30 shallow graves. But after he learned that he was going to be charged with murder, he stopped cooperating and then declared his innocence. A total of 53 bodies were recovered in Ambato alone, even though many more graves had been emptied by flash floods or scavenging animals before the investigators could find them. His minimum body count is estimated to be 110, but some believe that the number is closer to the vicinity of 300 and more.
That is just way too much. Way.
Police and reporters have disagreed on the later statement, saying that it is still very low because he had stopped cooperating with the investigation. He was convicted of 3 murders in 80 and sentenced to 16 years in prison, with which was at the time the maximum penalty for murder under Ecuadorian law. Now, in Ecuadorian law at the time, you couldn't rack up consecutive sentences. So, like in the United States, if he was charged with the 53 bodies, they could charge him with 53 counts,
right,
and get him for 53 concurrent life sentences.
Well, what they actually did, once they did get him, they did charge him with 57 counts on that first one.
Yeah. So. Advent, he brought him to the bodies and then said, no, it wasn't me.
Well, but then they had a little bit of trouble because of animal scatterings and, everything with the bodies. But, nope, 57 counts they got him for. But because of the law, it's a little sketchy there. He could only get a maximum of 16 years. They don't have concurrent sentencing. He got a month or so for like everybody.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Only 16 years and no death penalty.
Now, during it, so that was under Ecuadorian law. He was incarcerated in the Pavilion B section of Quintos Garcia Moreno prison, where he was a model prisoner and met a later Colombian serial killer named Daniel Camargo. Just a quick flash on that one. Daniel Camargo Barbosa was also known as the Mangrove Monster in the state of El Chaquito. He was a pedophilic serial killer, rapist with 72 to 180 victims killed, 5 plus raped, 1 attempted. He was only charged with 1 count of murder, 1 count of petty theft, and 1 count of sexual assault. But he has since passed away. So on August 31st of 94, Pedro was released from prison on good behavior. Mind you, he was sentenced to 16 years for killing 53 people and was released on good behavior in less than the 16 years he was charged on. I think he spent 14 years.
Oh my God.
Wow. But an hour later, he was arrested as an illegal immigrant and deported to Colombia.
and that murder that they tried to get him for was 20 years old.
Yeah. So think about it. You just spent 14 years in Ecuador, in Colombian, in an Ecuadorian prison. You're released, and less than an hour later, you're rearrested and then deported to Colombia as an illegal immigrant.
Didn't have to order lunch, that's for sure. But you know what? I'm not crying for him. That's for sure. It's like that hour of freedom was an hour too long.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He attempted to stop his deportation, claiming that he had gained Ecuadorian citizenship in 1974, but he couldn't produce any evidence of this. In Bogota, Pedro protested that he was subjected to a medical evaluation, demanding to be set free, even though an angry mob had gathered outside with the intention of lynching him again.
Yeah, well, let him out.
However, though, nobody had ever charged Pedro for murder in Colombia. Still reluctant to set them free, the authorities moved him to El Espinal, Espinal, where he had resided decades earlier with his mother in hopes that one of his older victims would come forward. A local woman claimed that back in 1979, she had seen Lopez walk away with her daughter from her home before her body was found raped and strangled outside town. This MO was identical to Pedro's known murders in Ecuador. He was found guilty after a short trial, but his defense attorney demanded that he be subjected to a psychiatric evaluation first. He was ruled insane in 1995. and as a result was committed to a mental hospital instead of being sent to
Mm-hmm.
prison. In
And
90,
then
in 98, a new evaluation, now this is 3 years later, deemed him sane, and he was released on $50 bail in the condition that he should continue to receive psychiatric $50 bail. And that
$50 bail. He
yep,
gets released on $50 bail and a little pat on the wrist and like make sure you go see your therapist.
yeah.
Huh.
So
Uh,
$50
uh,
bail on the condition that he should
uh.
continue receiving psychiatric treatment and report himself to the police every month.
Oh my God. There's just so much wrong here. I'm reading, you're reading about him getting away with that. And I'm reading another part of the confession here that I am just like,
No, go ahead.
oh my God. Wait. In the course of his confessions, Pedro blamed his crimes on his hard life and lonely adolescence. I lost my innocence at age 8, like we said before. He informed everyone that he would oftentimes troll village markets for selected targets with a certain look of innocence. He always searched for his victims in full daylight because he didn't want the darkness to hide their throes of death from him. When asked what he meant by this, Pedro explained that he would first sexually assault his victim and then strangle them as he stared into their eyes. He claimed to feel deep pleasure and sexual excitement watching their life fade before him. He went on to state that the horror would even continue after their death. He would oftentimes act out gruesome tea parties with the bodies of the dead, propping them up and talking to them. Police were initially skeptical of Pedro's grisly, almost incredible confessions, and liaisons with Peru and Colombia were unable to substantiate them. As Pedro realized that investigators doubted the truthfulness of his claims, he offered to lead them to several burial spots throughout the country. With little else that they could do, investigators agreed and put the plan into action. Hi, he's I could see like several episodes of Criminal Minds and Manhunter and all that other stuff. The tea parties. Several episodes that we have seen. They actually had these tea parties with the victims. That is just way not if you almost have me as creeped out as the Jack letters right now. Almost like I'm almost there. Like reading this guy's words. He's all kinds of messed up. And he was out. Several times they let him out. They had him, how many times? 3 times they had him in jail? 3?
Yeah.
And he's out? I can't. 350 suspected murders of under the age of 18 women. Children.
Where is it? Do you see that where they put the police detective in his cell with him? Did you see that part?
Let me find it.
I can't seem to find it.
The one with the interview?
Well, there was one of these. I can't seem to find where it was. But what they did is they were trying to get his confession, and so they put a detective in his cell with him to try to get him confess, and it took, I don't remember if it was like 2 weeks or something for him, and the detective the entire time would sleep with a towel around his neck because he was afraid this guy was going to choke him while he was sleeping.
I would imagine so. Like I can't imagine wanting to be in a cell with him.
And Pedro didn't open up to this guy until the guy had claimed that he had raped and murdered somebody, and then he just let it all rip, talking about the killings and everything. Yeah, so I can't seem to find where exactly that said that. But that was the gist of it all is they got him to confess while he was already in prison, already sentenced. But they were hoping for more locations of bodies, but he never did give those locations away.
His confession is just, he's too happy. He's way too happy this.
It wasn't native girls. Herb said he once said he preferred native girls because they were more shy and innocent. It wasn't the natives. It was American and European. The innocent blonde ones were the ones that he preferred, but they were the hardest ones to get. because the parents were so, um, they were so make sure they know where their kids were, but the native girls were the easier ones to grab because he could act parent like and he could attract them better. Is now this is his words. Now there may be somewhere else that it was different, but from his words is that's what he had said. So after after he was released, it was caused a hysteria in Ecuador. It was rumored that he had been seen in the northern part of the country around this time, but it was never confirmed. He was next seen again in Espanol, like I said, where he knocked on the door of his own mother. The impoverished woman admitted that she thought he was going to kill her because he blamed her for every pain that was in his heart. And that she said this in a televised interview years later, and that she pleaded in turn for him to never be released. However, Pedro calmly told her to get on her knees because he wanted to give her his blessing. Afterwards, he demanded his inheritance in life, arguing that he had no means to sustain himself. His mother gave him a few bills that she had kept in a drawer and an old bed that Pedro took apart to sell for pieces. She never saw him again, and his current whereabouts are still unknown. In 2002, the Colombian police launched an Interpol order of arrest against Lopez for a new murder in El Peña that fitted the MO of his earlier crimes. Different rumors claim that he is in the Tolima department in Colombia as a homeless man in Bogota, or even that he was murdered after some relatives of his victor put a bounty on his head. He is still presumed at large, although whether or not he has or will start killing again or his current whereabouts are still unknown.
What does this if? He's got 350 he's bragging about. You. What's the if
And
there?
he said he was going to do it again, so.
And yeah, he's obviously very much going to do it again. He has no remorse, no guilt. He's bragging about it. He's boasted he would write a book about his crimes. He's going to be the most famous one yet. He said no one's ever going to forget him.
Yeah. And with being
I could see why. It's just it's untenable that's so horrible. Like that's one of the most horrible ones that I've heard yet.
I like that, Krabby. Krabby says, well, that one. In other words, he was a tiny man who attacked weak and innocent girls in order to feel powerful. But this is the one. Maybe someone buried him again and poured that honey over his head, and the ants ate him well.
Yes, one can only hope. And I hope they were like the nasty ants, too. Those little red ones that really hurt. Yeah, those.
Now, for me, I'm going to go into his MO and stuff in just a second. But for me, I don't think he's alive. I'm pretty sure, just for what everything was going on, especially in the area when I believe he was taken out. He was probably lynched this time.
Well, 350 families looking for his. I mean, come on! Like, even if only 100 of them are after him, he's got his days numbered. I mean, he ain't getting around anyway.
I think this is where the public took justice into their own hands. Herb said, I remember the locals complaining that because so many of the victims were native and nobody cared about them.
Yeah, that they weren't investigating, like they weren't. That's terrible.
Yeah, and a lot of them were just what is known as street urchins, just the kids that would, orphans.
They're still children. Yeah, they're still children. Yep. Not cool.
No. So his MO. He had targeted young girls aged between 8 and 12, mostly from poor rural Amerindian communities. He had no racial preference. He admitted to having been tempted at times to abduct Caucasian girls, including foreign tourists, but refrained from doing so because they were closely watched by their parents. He would stalk the girls for an unknown amount of time and then abduct them. He would bring them to a secluded place where he would rape them and then strangle them to death. And as we talked about later, he would bury multiple bodies in graves, sometimes 3 to 4, before they could decompose too much, and then he would return later. So two things here. It said he'd only killed in the daytime because he wanted a clear view of the victims' faces. And then he also had said that one of the reasons he killed, he would wait he would wait till the sun came up. As soon as the sun would start to breach, that's where he would start his stuff, was right as the sun was coming up. And by the time the sun was fully up is usually when he had killed them by that point. Sometimes he said it would take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes to strangle him.
Oh my. Oh, and he enjoyed that because that's his favorite part, right?
Yeah. He was diagnosed as a sociopath with avoidant personality disorder, but not a true psychopath. Growing up, watching his mother made him assimilate sex with affection, and being thrown out as a result of displaying that affection with his sister made him conclude that affection was something to be punished. His subsequent childhood abuse and deprivations made him assume that destroying childhood innocence was both natural and desirable, and that by killing his victims, he was sparing them from the life of poverty and further abuse. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the biggest thing, one of the biggest things with Pedro is the fact that he disappeared, and the amount that I find interesting. Let me put it this way: is after he was released and he disappeared, we didn't get this uptake in missing children like there was before. So that's where it leads me to believe that something happened to him, that he is no longer with us anymore. The one thing that strikes me odd on that one though is that in 2002, Interpol had put out a arrest warrant from him for a murder that fit his MO. So between, was it 96 and 2002, he was, they believe he was still alive because the MO of the one victim places him, unless there was somebody else that did it. That's why they released the arrest warrant on Pedro, is because the MO fit what he would do. So we can guesstimate that he was probably still alive in 2002. After that, though, there's no telling. He could have went, to Chile or stayed in Peru,
right,
or went up into Mexico. It's hard to tell,
right,
because there's no sign of him. There's nothing.
No, I can see why your dad was fascinated with this one.
Yeah.
It's just, there's just too much there, and just to think that he's trying to save him, like, from his troubled life. Like, no, like, he was the trouble in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was the most horrible thing that happened to them.
So yeah, he said, like we said at the beginning, no one will ever forget me. And it's true. When you look back at serial killers and whatnot, he was one of that pop out as one of the most prolific serial killers in the world. With his many victims, and just the things he did. And yeah, Krabby, sorry to hear that had to hit hard.
I'm sorry.
And it's one of those things that is really hard to get over when it happens.
Absolutely.
So Pedro Alfonso Lopez, like you said, he was born in October of 48 in Colombia, and of this day, no one knows if he's still alive or not.
They don't know. Just the thought that he's on the one hand, I was fascinated with the thought that Jack the Ripper was still alive and came to the United States and did whatever. But this guy, I'm hoping he didn't make it like 15 minutes out after the last one. No, I mean, he made a whole hour the other time.
Yeah.
I'm hoping some family member, found him and put him out of his misery.
I like what Herb says. The way he thinks of himself is just severely fucked up.
It is. Like, he thinks he's not doing anything wrong. He's enjoying himself. He's actually doing a good deed. Like, that's warped. That is, like, so warped that he actually thinks he's doing them a good service. It's saving them from a life of abuse. Like I can't wrap my mind around that. And the thing that gets me, Jay, is he's using his childhood's attack as an excuse. Except for when he got attacked again, he killed 3 men instantly. Like, no, that's just a killer. Sorry, that is not like a trauma response. To me, that's a killer. It's just overly done. You know?
I want to read this part from that interview we were talking. So quizzed about the killer's release sometime between 98 and 99, prisons minister Pablo Figueroa admitted, yes, it does sound strange, but that's our law. The law of no execution or sentences longer than 20 years was passed over 100 years ago to protect residents of Ecuador from being killed following revolutions and military coup. In the past, they had been executed in horrific ways, like being pulled apart by 4 horses. The law seemed humane. The governor of Ambuto jail, where Lopez was held, is terrified that he will strike again. He said, God save the children. He is unreformed and totally remorseless. The whole nightmare may start again. He won't live long was predicted by a tough mother of one of the victims, a young Ecuadorian girl who had helped in his capture. It will be a kindness to the world for someone to murder this fiend. The monster of the Andes won't last long on the outside. Maybe that is why we haven't heard of more missing girls. Perhaps someone, even the police in Colombia or Ecuador, have already killed him. If they have, I hope they made him suffer.
Oh my goodness. Oh, and the laws. I'm hoping they're changed for something like this. There must be some loophole, some extraordinary circumstances they can have. Here now in the United States, there is, even when there's limitations of 20 or 25 years on things, there is always the loophole of extenuating circumstances. There is always something you can add on. We see now in the cases we're following now, Jay, where there's a murder, and they actually add the extra years by saying, well, you desecrated the body, or you moved the body, or you interfered with the case, and they're adding 5, 7, 10 years on top of the sentences.
And they're hitting them with multiple charges to make sure that, hey, they're not going to get out.
You're not getting out. Like, dude, that was just like, we don't care the law. We're going to use the law to our advantage instead of our disadvantage in these cases. So I'm hoping these countries have added at least extenuating circumstances to these laws, because that's crazy. Do you remember the young boy who got out? He was like 16, and the most he could get was 7 years, and he killed his whole family, 5 in France.
Something about that.
And it was horrible how he killed them too, and he hit the bodies. And he didn't even go to a jail. He went to a school for wayward boys for 7 years.
Yeah. So there is some good news here, though. Said when the news of the secret release of Lopez was first announced, there was anger among victims' families, and some talk of trying to change Ecuador's constitution to reinstate the death penalty, but that soon faded away. Since then, Ecuador had become a training ground for serial killers who knew all they face is a maximum of 20 years in prison. Now, that has changed. I did look it up. In Ecuador and Peru, the maximum penalty has been up to 25 years. But the death penalty and multiple are still, from what I could find, are still not there yet. But it is much better than 16 years. So they, in my opinion, for cases like Pedro and some of these others, they are moving in the right direction with the longer sentences. But it's kind of hard. There are 100% serial killers should never be released from prison. If they're caught and convicted, they should spend the rest of their life. And I have talked about this in a debate on Hereticals. I 100% believe in the death penalty under certain circumstances. But it's a whole different thing I don't want to get into too much because there's a lot behind why.
Oh,
But in a case like Pedro, I would be 100% on the side of the death penalty for Pedro. Um, but like I said, it's different, where you're at. So, um, about 3% of all worldwide murders are thought to be the hands of serial killers.
3%. That's a
3%.
lot.
Yeah,
That's a
and if
lot.
you think about how we got just over 8 billion people, 3% of the murders convicted, occurring of those 8 billion people, 3% of those that are murdered are done by serial killers. And unlike the United States, a lot of other countries don't they don't publicize or they don't put big things on serial killers. In the United States, it's a big thing that we have a serial killer. There's a serial, like we're talking about the two new serial killers down in Florida. The homeless guy, the homeless killer, the real estate guy, and the shopping cart guy. We only know about those two because of the fascination the United States has on serial killers. Other countries, we probably would have never seen or heard anything about them if it happened there. Just because they don't have the fascination with serial killers like the United States has. And that also is a testament on just how messed up I think a lot of people in the United States is. Now, I personally, one of the reasons I'm fascinated by serial killers is not what they did; it's why they did it. And so it's something that I like to look into the human nature of things. And it's one of the reasons why I'm fascinated with serial killers and a lot of true crime stuff. But some people are out there; they're just fanatics for why they killed them. Not why they killed them, but how they did it.
Right. Because, but this guy, he's telling us why and how, and like.
Yes, Raven, I am calling everybody messed up.
Yeah, we are. Everybody, even all of us, but not that level of messed up.
Mm-mm.
Like not like that. No, just a little bit maybe, but not like this guy.
Unfortunately, there's a drawback to that too. When you get to the point where you're when you look into serial killers, like a lot of like we do here, and a lot of other people, podcasters, things like that, when they look into serial killers, you start seeing things in a different way. You start looking at somebody was found killed here. Well, my mind first goes serial killer.
Mm-hmm. Of course it does, Jeff. Yeah.
I'm not thinking, my first thought with a lot of police things is the first instinct they think is it's a loved one. My first instinct is it's a serial killer until I read more on it and like, okay, it's not. And and I will admit there are sometimes I get because I'm
you
looking.
No, you
I'm
don't.
Always,
you don't get sad. No.
It's not that I get sad. It's not that I get sad. Is I get disappointed because
it's
looking,
not a serial killer.
Yeah, but see, there's a thing, and it's not because I want more people to die or anything. I'm looking for the next
something interesting.
I'm looking for the next Kemper, the Bundy, Dahmer.
You see, me. I hope I never meet another one. I don't want to know about any of them. No, it's just messed up. Just these individual ones I'm dealing with. These serial killers, they're messed in the head. Like,
And this is, and my dad is the reason why I got into this, because I'm the same way. We were both fascinated at the way their minds work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do have.
Well, that is the good thing about the old cases is that we find much of the psychological breakdowns that they do, the aftermath, later after they catch them and put them away.
Yeah, Raven's got it perfectly. He wants to be on the front end of a serial killer hunt, and that is true. I want that. Like. I admit it is for me. It is kind of a rush when you're looking at this and you're like when I first researched serial killer, especially one I've never heard of before, I am fascinated by
Mm-hmm.
everything about it. From
Yeah.
from their childhood, from their victims, why they choose the victims, why they do what they do, and even up into and I will admit, once it comes to trial, I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah. See, that's when I take off.
And
Like I like that
that's
part.
why me and
Yeah.
Claire work well, because
Yeah.
that's when Claire takes over. That's where
Mm-hmm.
she is fascinated by the
Yeah.
stuff. I am the beforehand, she is the after, and I think that's why our shows
Because it is
so well.
so difficult. It is, the way here in America, the way our legal system is so complicated. It is actually very difficult to get a hands down guilty person locked up the way they should be.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, there are so many ways, loopholes. There's so many dances they do in paperwork and back and forth, and then you've got all of the different kinds of players involved. It's fascinating, and what you want the outcome to be. And
Yeah.
almost everybody's hoping that that's the outcome, and it's still like a drama the whole time because you're not sure you're going to get there.
Yeah.
You'll
And
hardly ever get there. You get there less often than you would think. Um,
and and
I-
and yes, Krabby, I will admit, because Krabby says, haven't we seen enough serial killers in our
yeah, we
lifetime?
have. Yeah,
Absolutely,
we have.
100%.
That's why I'm thinking that you and your dad you need to like develop a new version of the Clue game only for serial killers. You got to get like special down and like put all of the clues there on like what they like and what they didn't and all the little psychological things that are going on with them, and make a more advanced game of Clue
Oh yeah,
for
yeah.
just specializing in serial killers.
They actually
Like,
have a subscription out there. It's called Hunt a Killer.
yeah, that'd be cool.
That takes you
Mhm.
through that, except it's expensive.
That's why I'm saying you and your
Yeah.
dad are so fascinated you could create your own, and then it just like you have to identify the serial killer,
And like Herb says, I hope we never have another, but we will, unfortunately.
And there are quite a few that are unsolved, and we should start looking at some of them after John
Yeah,
Bonet.
we will.
Yeah.
After Jean Benet, we're going to start looking at, because we had talked about that before, about talking about like the Long Island serial
Mm-hmm.
killer, the killing fields. We're going to start looking at some
Mm-hmm.
unsolved cases.
We got the Appalachians. We have them everywhere. Like
Yeah.
here in the United States, we've got at least 5 hot zones now.
Now, yeah,
Where women are going missing, teenagers, boys. Yeah, we got some hot areas around here.
yeah. Raven said that Hunt a Killer game is $30 a month, and each case takes 6 months.
Wow.
From start to
Wow.
finish, because they send you a box every month. It's like a subscription box, and here's more.
And the box takes 6 months. So like for Christmas, buy them like 4 months and then cancel. And then and then he's going to be set for like 2 years. Like, and then you just do it again in a couple of years. Like that's a good idea. Yeah. I have to check that out.
But going back to what Krabby said here, she said, I'm sure we have many more that have never been caught. Ed Kemper famously said that when he was caught, they asked him, how many serial killers do you think are out there? And he said, serial killers like me, none. Serial killers that are out and about doing what they do, he estimated between 35 and 50 at the time he was caught. And the if I remember right, the FBI, well, going back to one of the first shows we did, the FBI estimates there are anywhere between 25 and 30 active serial killers in the United States right now that they are aware of. Mind you, that they are aware of. that number could be much higher.
Yeah.
Because of serial killers that don't have an MO that will link them to other cases. And yeah, Krabby, I believe there, like I just said, I do believe there's more than that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yeah. You need all 6 months to solve the case.
Yeah, I just said bummer. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that, but yeah, because otherwise, you could just like get them and stockpile them for a later date for a while. But yeah.
Yeah, Herb just checked the FBI. They said 25 to 50.
25 to 30. Oh, 25 to 50. That's a big difference in numbers. That's like
No, like I said, that's the ones that they
Wow.
know of.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah. That's something else. Yeah.
Always Crayful says, okay, that does it. I'm keeping my good friend Mr. Browning right beside me.
I don't blame you always. Like this is a little unnerving, there's like and see, it's good that when we get into our fantasy part of it, it's all virtual reality and stuff like that. Like it's not any of it. It's not any of this,
Yeah,
out of how many
now mind you, the United States has 335 million people in just
yeah,
the
but
United States alone.
even though that sounds like a small number in there, it's still too big a number for me. It
Yeah.
still makes me uncomfortable because I think of all of the ones we've seen in the paper and we've read and how they could be anybody, right next door. Make me a little paranoid, I don't even want to stand in line with anybody at the grocery store anymore.
Yeah, you never know. You may be at some point in your life, you may have met a serial killer.
Well, I know you've been teaching me how to be a serial killer since we met. You've been and then with that, that coffee hating routine you have, you're trying to push me over the edge. I know what you're up to, Jay. It's like this is really episodes of how to make a serial killer. Y'all didn't know. It's like an experiment he's got going. It teaches me all the ways. Like, did you teach me the psychological profiles and all of the labeling and how they developed all the program? Then you taught me how they kill, like 20 different ways of how they do it.
Girl, we haven't even got into David Parker Ray yet.
Oh, see, so sounds like fun. Oh my god,
that's the toy box killer. That David Parker
Ray.
Okay,
you keep threatening me with these toy box killers, and I read a little bit about it. And I don't know. I might have to develop a migraine or something.
David Parker Ray created created instruments of torture and killing.
No, say that isn't true. Say, you must deny that comment. You must deny it, or we're gonna have issues.
Oh, they hate the muffins and cupcakes.
How do you hate muffins and cupcakes on top of coffee? Like, what? What?
I don't like muffins, and cupcakes to me is just a waste of cake.
Oh, Raven, I have a new respect for you, woman. You are like super. I don't know how you do it. Oh my god.
Yes. All right. Herb, I 100% agree. David Parker Ray was even more sick than Pedro Lopez, and 100%.
Don't say that, Herb. I'm gonna have to take vacation when he covers that one.
When we do David Parker Ray, I'm telling you, that is not going to be for the faint of heart. That one is severely. We're talking torture. In the highest degree of torture, and he had accomplices. It wasn't just him.
I love pink champagne cupcakes. Okay, banana bread saves you. If you like banana bread, I'll show up. I'll show up next week. Okay, the banana bread's going to save you, but this cupcake thing.
I can tell you exactly why I don't like muffins.
Why?
It's the hard top with the soft underneath. I don't like it.
What?
I don't like it. I don't like the hard top and the soft underside.
Well, if you make them at home, the top isn't hard yet. And so like a fresh baked muffin from the oven is like a thing of beauty. It's
just make me a good old banana bread loaf.
Okay. Whatever. I make a chocolate one and it's just awesome. Like awesome. Chocolate banana bread. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, now I'm hungry.
Me too.
I'm gonna have to go eat before my stream now.
So, like I said, thank you everybody for joining us on this episode of
for hanging in there. This one was rough, minions. Y'all good eggs hanging in this one.
And
this one
like I said, a shout out to Herb in the chat. He's the one that brought this one to us.
Thank you, Herb, for. At least it's early enough in the night. I'm not going to have nightmares or anything.
Yeah, you got a show in less than an hour or so.
Yeah, I got a fun one.
You'll get to change your mind, take your mind.
I'm going to, Charlie Brooker always sends me into virtual reality, and I enjoy living there these days, to tell you the truth. I am a big Brooker fan. And Kim is in the chat there, as always, grateful, and she is also. We have fun with it. We always take it a little farther because we're fanatics about it. We look for the Easter eggs, and we like to expand on the conversation a bit. It's fun. It actually we're enjoying. We're doing the whole series. Like I've got like 14 of them already on the channel on a playlist, which is linked to the video. And
if you got one you want me to cover, would you let me know? If you
yeah,
got one
you know what? Go if you know. Kim loves this now, and so if you want to, like, we'll do
because I love TV shows. You know, and I did watch the very first episode of Black Mirror, the one with the politician and the pig. I did.
Oh, I just covered that last week. Did you see?
I have seen that. That's the only one I've seen. So
okay, well, that was the very first one, and that one was pretty lit. It's very disturbing. You've got to watch the cyber bees, the assassin bees. Like I'm telling you,
that sounds like
you need to go. I got a playlist. It's quite entertaining. I did some with JC from the Do Good Letters. I've done a couple with Jack of Hearts, and Kim is my new partner for this series. But we'll be doing a triple with Jack of Hearts, and you know, if you can get past the muffin and cupcakes that we serve at every meeting, you know, maybe Kim and I will let you hang with us on we do them on Sundays, and you happen to be free, so we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll talk. You know, head to the Discord room and see which ones are open. Yeah, see if one strikes your fancy.
Maybe I can. Maybe I'll pull one up so I can join you guys for Black Mirror.
Yeah, it'd be fun. You know, that's if Kim lets you, though, because because she's a big baker, you know, and she's all that Southern hospitality and the coffee and the fucking muffins, and you know, you can't be dissing them. You know,
Kim says it would be good to join us for maybe Crocodile or Metalhead. I kind of like.
No, Crocodile. I've already done Metalhead, but Crocodile's open. We did Metalhead already.
All right, I'll have to take a look at Crocodile.
Yeah, Crocodile's was pretty good.
Yes, I do like Spam and sushi.
You like Spam?
Oh yeah, I love me some Spam.
Oh God, Raven, I don't know how you do it.
I
have so much respect for this woman. Like she is like, I just. I know, Krabby, Spam isn't even food. I have no idea what it is.
It's stuff posing as meat.
it's I don't know. It's very popular in Hawaii, but that's an island. It's not their fault. Okay, that you know, stuff doesn't get in there a lot.
Exactly, you know? Herb. Good with eggs and toast. I like fried Spam.
No.
Extremely over easy eggs and toast.
Ew. Okay, I'm going. All right.
I like my eggs like really runny. So. Like just cook them long enough to the egg yolks turn white, and that's about it.
Listen, I like my everything.
Whites turn white.
I like my everything without Spam, like without it, like leave it out. Just disgusting. Yeah.
So
I guess it is popular in the Navy. You'd think you'd like coffee. Navy
I did when I was in the Navy, and then I didn't like it anymore. I used to drink that stuff by the potful when I was in the Navy.
So okay, so you need bad coffee then.
Oh, that's I love me a brownie. Oh, give me a good brownie, I'm in heaven.
Caramelized walnuts. Oh my goodness.
So join us tomorrow night on Claire's channel. That'll be
10 o'clock.
We're not sure what we're covering yet. We'll see.
I'm not telling them. Telling them.
I like those. I like the ones where she doesn't tell me what we're going over.
I'll figure it out later tonight. I got a couple of cases open. I'll do the updates, and of course, everybody else is going to know except for Jay.
Yep, everybody but me. I'll make sure I don't know what's going on.
But that's good. I do. You know, I it's not like I wait. I do let them know a little bit before the show. I'll throw some links. You know. He's just not going to have the whole day. Chocolate cake and pie too. I love pie and chocolate. Now I'm hungry. I'm going to have to go eat. Oh my God.
And then next.
Kim, bring pie. Bring cake.
And then Sunday, Sunday at 7. What did I say? Sunday at 7? Now I got to look again.
No. When is your Sundays? Like my Sundays are at 9. So if you want to do, you said early. We were doing it early because you got to go to work.
The Jean Bonnet one. It will be.
I thought you said early. It was an afternoon.
Early Sunday. So
yeah. What time's early? It was like 3 o'clock. 1
2
o'clock?
or 3, because I got to work at 5. So we'll start them around 2 or 3 on Sunday.
So, Murder Minions, we will definitely update you in the room there about the specific time well in advance. We'll start promoting it. And anyone else who hasn't already joined the Discord, if you'd like to set up a Discord ID and hit up either Jay or I, and we will send you a link over there once you get friends and get you in there for when we start doing roundtables more often and having actual conversations and chats about cases after the show.
Those will be coming soon.
Yep, we're pushing Jay.
Those will be coming soon. So, thank you all. Like I said, the month starting next Sunday, the month of Jean Benet starts.
And that's an unsolved. You know,
it is an unsolved. Yet. It is unsolved. So we're with lots of twists and turns. So we're gonna deep dive into that one.
I'm currently looking for the documented interviews, like the actual papers on it.
Yep, and I'm going through facts and stuff. So
there you go.
And if you guys want a heads up on any cases that on the Jean Benet Ramsey case that you want to get a heads up before we actually get started, I recommend 2 podcasts: True Crime Garage and True Crime All the Time. Take a listen to those. Both of them, I believe, have 5 episodes on the Jean Benet case. Extremely well done, extremely in detail. And I will admit, I will be pulling a lot of stuff and information from those.
Well, then, you know what would be nice for you to do is to link both of those podcasts to the stream in the Murder Minion rooms so that we can find them for them easily. That would be great. Because it's going to be the whole month, and they're going to be referring back and forth to them. So that would be great. Give you one place to find them, guys. You know, and then we'll start linking them in the chat for those of you that do not join the Discord.
So, thank you everybody for showing up. Thank you for joining us. Thank you Larry, for bringing this one to us. Like I said,
you're gonna get your dad a Discord ID, man. Get him over there in the Murder Minion room. Oh, come on, Herb. No, don't never say never. I have persuaded many a person who never said never into that Discord.
I don't see it happening.
I don't. And Herb, there's like conversations about serial killers. I mean, really, what else do I need to tell you?
All right. Until next time, everyone, you have a good evening. Take care of yourself and take care of your family, and we will see you next time.
Yep. See you Monday.
And I still don't have an outro for the show.
Man, you need to get to work, dude. You know what? Hire one of my people from my Discord. Like, I got plenty of people to make them over there.
So, all right, everybody. We'll see you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Wait a minute. I think I may actually have an outro.
Oh, maybe you do. Raven, you're more than welcome.
No,
love.
I don't. I don't have an outro on this one. No. That was
right.
on. So,
all right,
everybody. We'll see you later.
Yep. All right. Bye.
Bye.